Hey guys, I'm Lydia and welcome back to the channel. So today, not just today, but all week, I'm going to be showing you some simple and easy crock pot recipes. But today's recipe in particular, we are going to be doing some barbecue pulled pork in the crock pot, okay? So I have this bone-in butt roast right here. This is a big one. This is about 10.19 pounds in weight. All right, so I'm just gonna cut this right open. I did get me pretty much set up, so I have all of my seasonings and everything I'm gonna be putting in the crock pot with it right here next to me. But I have been craving some pulled pork sandwiches. For some reason last night, I ended up having a dream, all right? I'm gonna tell you guys about my dream, but there's a lot of liquid in here. So I'm gonna put this paper towel down in my crock pot first. It's not gonna stay in there while I'm cooking. It's just when I dump this in here, I'm gonna pat it down with the same paper towel just to dry it up as best as I can. But anyway, I had a dream last night, guys. Or maybe a flashback from my childhood, whatever you wanna call it. But when I was a kid, in the winter, my mom loved summer a lot, okay? Especially nice weathers, picnics, barbecues, all of that. So when I was a kid in the winter, we used to have in-house picnics, which I love. My mom used to sit, she used to get a blanket, put it on the floor in the kitchen. Well, not in the kitchen, but either it all used to be one open floor pan. But we would put it pretty much like move the couch, put a big blanket down, and then we would make a whole bunch of summer food. So like either sandwiches, potato salad, macaroni salad. Sometimes she would make pulled pork sandwiches. But anyway, we used to sit there and we used to watch TV. But we would watch like the Nature Channel or have it on like those nature shows, stuff like that. Try to get the scenery right. And we would literally just have our own little in-house picnic. So that is the plan for tonight with me and my kids. I kind of want to recreate that with mine because I used to have so much fun doing it as a kid with my parents. So that's kind of what I want to recreate tonight. So anyway, we're going to be putting this together. I'm going to give my hands just a quick little wash before I start picking stuff up. But I do have my pork in there and it is patted dry. And it's not bad at all. I am going to leave the fat on just because I am one to like the fat. And I like mixing it when I shred it in there. But that's just my personal preference. And like I said, I'm going to give my hands a quick rinse and then we'll season this bad boy up. So for our seasoning options, guys, we have some good old Larry seasoning, some black pepper, paprika, mustard powder, ground cumin, and onion powder. That's what I'm going to use. I'm going to season the whole entire pulled pork shoulder evenly. Sometimes I put it in a bowl and mix it, but I'm not. I'm just going to sprinkle it on top. And then I will be putting some apple cider vinegar, brown sugar, and barbecue sauce in after I season, just to have a little bit of liquid at the bottom of our pot. And then I'll also add in some leftover barbecue sauce that I have. So I have, this is my favorite barbecue sauce to make wings with, okay? The Jimmy Dean Maple Brown. I've been trying to come up with a copycat recipe. So once I get that perfect, I definitely will share that. And then I have just a little tiny bit, as you can see, of Sweet Baby Ray's. So I'm going to put all of that in here. We're going to season this up and then we'll get this going on our crock pot If you're gonna put it on low, I recommend you going about 8 hours. This is a big one, so maybe 8 to 10 hours. But I am going to be putting it on high today, so it will go for about 5 to 6 hours, and I will check it at that 6-hour mark. I'm probably going to let it go for the full 6, but I will be checking it at the 6-hour mark. If it's not easily shreddable and it does need to go a little bit longer, I will definitely make sure I leave it in a little bit longer. And I will also share a quick coleslaw recipe with you guys in this first clip for this recipe, okay? So guys, we went in with our Larry seasoning, some black pepper, we did some onion powder, mustard powder, as well as some ground cumin. I'm also going to go in with paprika. I don't have much left. And last but not least, for brown sugar wise, well, seasoning wise, some brown sugar. I'm going to pack that all in there. I'm going to flip it, and we're going to do the same to the other side. So now that all of our seasonings and stuff is in, I am going to go in with the leftover barbecue sauces that I do have. So I have some Jimmy Dean and some Sweet Baby Ray's. As you could tell, it's like maybe a corner in each. So I am going to put these on top. And I always do add barbecue at the end as well, guys, when I shred it up. But I usually add maybe about a half a cup of barbecue while it's cooking, just to get that flavor to soak into the meat. So this isn't much, but that's what we're going with. And then I have some apple cider vinegar here. And I'm only going to do enough till it comes up the bottom of the pan. Just about maybe 1/4 of an inch. So that's all I'm going to use. Now, whenever I'm doing just straight meat product in here, yes, the fat and the juices will render off the meat and create a liquid at the bottom. But I always add just a little bit of liquid, even if it's 1/4 cup of water. Because when it starts cooking in my crock pot, and I'm not sure about other people in their crock pot, but mine's, it will burn like you burnt a pot. So I just want to let you guys know that's why I always add liquid to the bottom of my crock pots. So now that everything is inside, we're going to put a lid on it. Woo, that's heavy. And it's on. Alright guys, so pork in the crock pot. Just turned it on high. We're going to let this go between 5 and 6 hours. I'm only going to let it hit 7-hour mark if and only if my meat is not shreddable and it's not done enough. Alright, but I do have this on high, so it should not take as long as the 8-hour cook time if it was on low. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna let this go. Today is a crock pot day because I do have some projects in the garage that I have to finish. So I will see you guys in a couple hours so we can try out our pulled pork sandwiches and finish them up together. All right. So we're back at it again for our next recipe on this video, okay? Crock pot recipe, and we're just gonna be making a classic beef stew. I'm not gonna go brown my meat. I just want this to be a dump everything in my crock pot and go type of recipe, okay? So I have all my ingredients lined out, and we're just gonna dump this in my crock pot and get it started. So starting with my crock pot here, I'm gonna just throw in our beef. So every time I get a big bulk of meat from the grocery store, I always pre-package them into portions. If you want to see a video on me doing a meat haul, because I love to get my meat on sale, especially when they have the manager specials. But if you want to see a video of me doing my meat haul, how I separate it, you get it pre-packaged and portioned up for dinner or for future recipes, just let me know and I can definitely do a video on that down below. But first, like I said, I just have my meat here in my crock pot. I'm gonna spread it thin and I'm gonna go ahead and season my meat up. So I have some Larry seasoning that I'll be using for my beef. We have some ground pepper. I always like to season my meat separately with salt and pepper before I cook my, before I throw everything in, just to make sure that the salt and pepper did get everywhere like it should. I have some garlic here that I will be throwing in. And then I'm just going to stir that up. Make sure that the seasoning touches every bit of meat. And just like that. So now that I have my seasonings in, I'm going to go ahead and start adding the rest of my veggies. So for the rest of the ingredients we're going to put in, I'm going to start off with my onions. We're going to just throw those right on in. Same with my carrots. And I'm also going to throw in my potatoes. So I have some mini potatoes. I have the whites as well as the reds. And I did rinse those off. I'm going to mix that up so it's not just meat at the bottom. So I just have a bag of frozen peas. And I'm going to put about a cup in there. Get that mixed up in there as well. So now all we're doing is going to add our liquids and the rest of our seasonings into our pot. Again, I like to season with salt and pepper towards the end, so you'll see that as well. And that salt and pepper that I add towards the end, I just make sure that the broth is tasting the way that I want it to be. So now I'm going to go in with some rosemary. It does not have to be mixed in, again, because that broth is going to spread it out. But I am going to add a bit of rosemary in there. I got some bay leaves, so I'm going to add about 2 bay leaves into the pot. As well as some of my Worcestershire sauce. Now in this back pot right here, I'm going to show you just a little up close. I have some broth going. I ran out of my fresh beef broth, so I'm doing a substitution today. And it's just going to be with some water. It's about 4 cups of water. And I put some beef bouillon cubes in there just to make my broth. What I am going to do is add some tomato paste to my broth. Because I have everything in my pot mixed in and the paste is so thick, I know that my tomato paste is not going to incorporate like I want it to. So I'm gonna add about 3 tablespoons of tomato paste to my broth and then whisk that up. And what that's gonna do is just break it up so it's evenly distributed once I add it to my crock pot. So that's broken up. So now my broth looks red. And we're just gonna pour this right on in. On top. So we're gonna cover this up, guys, and we're gonna let this cook for about 4 to 5 hours. I'm gonna cook it on high so it's done in time for dinner, since it's about 11 o'clock now. And we usually eat dinner around 4:30, 5 o'clock. We like to have an early dinner here. So I'm gonna get this cooking for, like I said, 4 to 5 hours, and then we'll come back and check it. Towards the end, we'll add in our salt and pepper if we need any for the broth. Just to make that taste flavorful, as well as a cornstarch slurry to thicken up our broth. So I am sorry about the lighting. The sun is kind of doing like a really weird thing right now, but our beef stew is like almost done. I'm going to show you up close what it looks like right over here. But guys, it looks so good and so amazing. So now we have about an hour left on our stew before dinner. I have some leftover beef broth that I was using yesterday for yesterday's dinner when I was using it for my gravy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use this for my cornstarch slurry to thicken this up instead of using water. Ooh, that's sealed. Crank that open. And then I just have some cornstarch. So I'm going to add maybe like 2 spoons. That's 1. That's 2. Maybe like 2.5 spoons, and stir that up real good. And then I'll pour this right into our beef stew. This is a really weird color. It kind of looks like chocolate milk. I don't know if you can see it, but just thought I'd throw that out there. So I'm going to pour that right in. And now that that's poured in, I'm just going to give it a quick stir. And we'll let this continue for another hour. After that hour, guys, literally this is done. I tasted my broth. It is great. I don't need to add anything else to it. So this is pretty much what I'm going to be working with once we're done. And it thickens up nicely. Alright guys, so my beef stew right here. How does that look? I always do mine over some rice. Might be a little too starchy with the potatoes, but that's your preference. This is mine's. Alright. Okay. So this is how we're having it. It looks so good. It tastes even better than it looks. I'm gonna say see you in the next clip for the next recipe of our crock pot series. Well, you know, video. My family is in the living room watching a movie without me and already started their dinner. I'm going to finish mine with them, and I will see you in a second, I guess. The next recipe in this crock pot video series is going to be a corn chowder. All right, if you notice, I'm wearing the same thing as, you know, the first clip, because I'm doing both of my crock pots today. So I'm actually doing the beef stew and the corn chowder today because I want to have the corn chowder for lunch throughout the week, and also pack it in my husband's lunchbox for him to have lunch throughout the week as well. So I'm gonna get that started too. So I have my smaller crock pot here, and that's what my corn chowder is going to go into. And I have all of my ingredients laid out. I have my potatoes here in water that I just diced. So I'm going to strain this water off, and then we're going to start throwing everything together in this pot and get it on and cooking. So the only thing we're not going to add into this recipe in the beginning while it's cooking for the initial first 4 hours is going to be our cream. And just because we don't want it to curdle and we don't want it to burn. So I am going to start throwing everything together in our pot like we should have it. So the first thing I'm going to put in my pot, guys, and it really doesn't matter which order you put it in. I'm going to start with my potatoes. So I just drained the liquid off. I'm throwing those straight on in. We have some red and green bell pepper and onions going in next. Of course, I have some frozen corn. If you want to use canned corn, you can. I just don't like all of the sodium that's in it, so I prefer to use frozen. And I'm adding majority of the bag, as you can see, which was about 4 cups. Before I start adding our seasonings and the mystery meat that I will be putting in this, all right, I will add some of our liquid just so I can get in there and be able to stir it. So I have some chicken stock here that I canned myself. This is literally, I have this one and one more left of the previous one I canned. So I will be canning some more. I use a lot of stock. So I'm going to pour that in as our liquid. And I can see our liquid in there, so. I am just stirring some of this up. I am going to add some salt and pepper now, and I will probably add a bit more later on before I add my cream, just to make sure it is seasoned well enough for me. So that's the salt and some pepper. Now in this container here, I have some ground turkey. Now I did an Instacart order, I want to say a couple days ago. And I was trying to order some ground chicken because I was making a white chicken chili, which if you haven't seen that video, I will link that down below as well. But they ended up sending me ground turkey. So I ended up freezing 1 packet of ground turkey they sent. And then this other packet here, I had left it in the fridge thinking I would cook it and use it in a recipe. And I had no clue what to use it in. So I ended up just cooking it, putting it in a container, and leaving it in the fridge. So I'm going to add that right to this mixture. And we'll have a turkey corn chowder. That makes sense. I'm going to add the rest of that in. And keep stirring. Now, it might not look like enough liquid right now, and it isn't. I am going to add some more. I just wanted to add a bit right now just so I can get everything stirred up and I won't be making a mess. It's easier to stir when there's liquid involved, okay? So, and then the last thing I'm going to add is going to be a bay leaf. I'm going to find me a nice pretty sized one if I can get a nice big one that isn't broken up. And I'm just going to put 1 bay leaf in to cook. And I'm going to top the rest off with some water. And then that's it for now, guys. So we're just going to let this cook. It's going to go on low for 6 to 8 hours. Or it's going to go on high for about 4 to 5 hours. Just always check it at that 4-hour mark. We're going to put this right on and cook it. And then once we get an hour before it's done, we're going to add in our cream to it just to make it a bit more creamier. Okay, guys, so checking on our corn chowder, we have about an hour before it should be done. So now we're going to add in our thickener for our broth. Okay, our corn chowder looks great. I am going to insert over here what it's looking like and as it boils. What I am going to do currently is just take out that bay leaf and it's snapped in half. So I'm going to take out those 2 pieces. And then we're going to add in, like I said, our thickener. So knowing me and how I've been cooking, if you haven't, almond milk. I'm not doing heavy cream. This is going to be dairy free, okay? So I have about 1.5 cups of almond milk. And then I have some cornstarch here as well. So all I'm going to do is make like a little slurry. I'm going to add about 2, maybe 2.5, close to 3 spoons of cornstarch into my liquid. And stir that right up. And you want to get that stirred and dissolved really good, because once this cornstarch hits that heat, you ain't dissolving that at all. So I got that stirred pretty well. So we're going to pour this in, stir it up, and then let it go for another hour. This pot is full, but that's fine. This is going to give us plenty for the week, for lunches, and everything else. So we'll let this continue for another hour, and it'll be ready to serve. All right, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me on making these 3 delicious crock pot meals. So far, this is what my corn chowder is looking like, and it is so great. And the addition of that turkey just made it even better. So I might actually just add turkey in for now on when I make it. But anyway, if you like this video, please make sure you like that. Well, hit that like button down below. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if this is your first time here. Thank you to all my returning subscribers, and I will see you in the next one. Later.